let's talk about Balchem Corporation. Because in 2025, they didn't just have a good year, they blew right past a massive milestone. Today, we're going to break down how they did it, how they smashed through that billion-dollar barrier for the very first time, and what it all means for their future. Just look at this number, $1.037 billion. This right here is the headline. This is the figure that defines Balchem's entire year and honestly puts them in a whole new league. So what does that number mean? It means that for the first time in company history, Balchem has officially joined the billion-dollar sales club. This isn't just a little bit of growth, it's a huge achievement. So the big question is, how'd they pull it off? Let's get into it.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big headline numbers. Then, we'll dive into the three engines that really drove all that growth. After that, we'll decode some of that financial jargon, take a look at management strategy, and get real about the potential challenges ahead. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see what the big picture looks like.
Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1, a record-breaking year. So, what does a performance like that actually look like on paper? Let's check out the headline numbers. Wow. You know what really jumps out here is just how strong everything is, right across the board. I mean, sales up almost 9%, that's great. But their profit, their GAAP net earnings, that shot up over 20%. That is huge. And their core operational profit, that adjusted EBITDA, grew right along with sales. To top it all off, their free cash flow hit an all-time record. This isn't a fluke. This is a story of a company that is just fundamentally strong. Okay, so you see numbers like that, and you have to ask, where did $1 billion actually come from? Let's find out. In Section 2, we're digging into the three main engines that made this all happen. And boom, this chart tells the story right away. I mean, all three of their business segments did well, but you can see there's a clear winner here. Human nutrition and health is the absolute powerhouse. It's the main event, making up the lion's share of sales. And here's exactly why that segment is crushing it. A 12.7% growth in just one quarter is pretty incredible. What's happening is that Balchem is perfectly positioned to ride this massive wave of, well, us. We're all reading labels now, we're demanding healthier foods, so next time you grab something that's fortified with minerals or a snack with extra vitamins, one of those better-for-you products, there's a really good chance a company like Balchem had a hand in it. All right, engine number 2 is animal nutrition and health. Still a solid performer, growing at almost 5%. Basically, this part of the business is all about making our food supply chain more efficient, providing crucial nutrients for livestock like cattle and poultry. And it looks like demand for that is picking up, especially over in Europe.
And rounding out the trio, we've got specialty products, clocking in with a nice 6% growth. And this is where you really see how diverse Balchem's business is. I mean, we're talking about everything from high-purity gases for medical devices on one hand to specialized nutrients for plants on the other. It's this solid industrial backbone that really balances things out for them.
Okay, so you know how these earnings reports can be filled with all this financial jargon, right? Well, in this next section, we're going to cut through the noise. We'll decode a couple of the most important terms so you can see what's really going on with the company's financial health. First up is this term you see everywhere, adjusted EBITDA. Don't let the name intimidate you. The simplest way to think about it is, it's like looking under the hood at the engine of the business. It strips away all the fancy accounting and financing stuff and just asks one simple question. Is the core business of making and selling things actually profitable? That's it. And Balchem's number, almost $275 million. That's a huge number. So going back to our analogy, it means their engine isn't just running, it's a beast. They're generating a massive amount of cash just from their main business operations.
Okay, next up is free cash flow. And honestly, this one might be the most important. Think of it like your own paycheck. After you've paid your rent, your bills, your groceries, put gas in the car, all that stuff, the money that's just left over at the end, that's your free cash flow. And for a company, it's the ultimate measure of financial flexibility and power.
So for Balchem to hit a record high of over $173 million here, that is a very, very big deal. This is pure financial firepower. It's cash in the bank that management can now use to fuel future growth, reward investors, or just build an even stronger foundation for the company.
So you've got all this cash, all this firepower. What do you do with it? That's the billion-dollar question, right? Well, let's take a look at management's playbook in Section 4.
And their strategy is super clear and, frankly, really disciplined. It's basically a three-step process.
First, they put money back into the company, research and development, building new facilities, to keep that growth machine humming. Second, they take care of their shareholders. They've raised their dividend for 17 years in a row. And third, they're smart with their debt, paying it down to a super low level. It's just a really solid, balanced strategy for long-term value.
The CEO, Ted Harris, really nailed it when he talked about this. He pointed to strong market positions and solid execution. And that's the key, right? This isn't just about luck or being in a good industry. It's about having a team that actually knows how to get the job done and win.
Okay, so we've talked about all the good stuff, but let's be real. A record-breaking year doesn't mean it's all smooth sailing from here on out. So for a more balanced view, let's look at some of the potential bumps in the road.
No company operates in a vacuum, right? Balchem's got to deal with rising costs for the raw materials they need, and that can put a squeeze on their profits. Then you've got all the political stuff, new regulations, tariffs. That can make moving things around the world a real headache. And of course, there's the big one, the overall health of the global economy. All of that is definitely on their radar. All right, let's bring it all home. We've looked at the numbers, the businesses, the strategy, the risks. So what does it all mean? What's the final takeaway here?
This really sums it up perfectly. On one side, you have this incredibly strong company from the inside. They're growing like crazy. They have a bunch of different successful businesses. They're sitting on a pile of cash, and they have a smart plan for it. But on the other side, they're facing all these outside pressures, rising costs, tricky regulations, and just general economic uncertainty.
And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? That's the central question we're left with. Balchem's growth engine is absolutely firing on all cylinders. There is no doubt about that. But is their winning playbook, as solid as it is, going to be enough to navigate the undeniable turbulence of the global landscape? That's what we'll all be watching.